الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبو القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me start by congratulating and commiserating the believers on the recent birth and passing of Bibi Fatima sallallahu alaiha. It's a time of birth and death, not just for Muslims, but for Christians as well. In their case, they celebrate what they believe is the death of Jesus and his resurrection on this coming Sunday. And so to all Christians present, whether near or far, I extend my warm wishes and hopes that they have a truly spiritual experience in their ending their fast and in the meditations which they will undertake. And I hope I make that on behalf of all true Muslims. With this event in mind, I've decided to look at something slightly different and perform what might be described as an interfaith khutbah. So sort my cards out. I've recently been studying Dante's Inferno, and on the course, of course, the majority are Christians, the majority are Catholics, because Dante was a Catholic writer. But there's an engagement point in any religious or holy text where people of any faith, or even of no faith, can engage together and see an aspect of the universal divine, the infinite divinity that we call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he instructed us. Dante, as his pilgrim, journeys into hell. It's a very similar story in many ways to the hadith of the Isra and the Miraj, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam journeys from Mecca to Jerusalem and from there to the heavens and to look into hell. Dante's pilgrim character is taken in front of the gates of hell because he's going to journey through hell and purgatory and arrive eventually in paradise. And above the gates of hell, a warning is written. And it can seem a very dire warning. I'm not going to read the whole of it, but just the last 3 lines, or 4 or 5 lines. Divine power made me. Wisdom supreme and primal love. Before me was nothing but things eternal, and eternal I endure. Abandon all hope, you who enter here. It's quite a chilling thought, isn't it, to be told to abandon hope. And yet, in our vast treasury of hadith, we have an hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam that hope only brings discontent. So are we talking about the same hope, different hopes, or are there many sorts of hope? And this is what I want you to consider now. In these few verses, we've reached a common ground between ourselves and Christianity. Divine power made me. We all believe that we are created creatures, created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a purpose that only He knows. This is one thing we shouldn't hope to understand. Some people say that the study of theology brings insanity, and I am the living proof of that. It can tear at the very roots of your confidence in your mental being, and that by definition is a form of insanity, and yet it's a blessed form of madness. We've seen it in the eyes of the believers. Look at every Ashura. Are the Azadari quite sane? Or are they driven quite mad by passion and grief? This is a high point of spirituality for them, and anyone watching can see that. So we have this common point. We are created creatures of the supreme, infinite intelligence that ordered everything. And yet, this not only links us fundamentally to Christians, it links everyone. Because even atheist scientists believe that there was a moment when everything was created, the Big Bang. Some, like Penfold, say an intelligence ordered this, but I won't say it's God. His choice. For us, we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said be, and it was. It was becoming, developing, as the Quran makes clear. But abandoned all or every hope. What is hope? Hope is a lack of certainty. If you hope for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you really believe that He's going to give it to you when He's promised it to every one of you? So when you say, I hope for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are you actually saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made a false promise? This is serious. This is a dangerous hope. This is a false hope. Because when we have certainty, we have no need of hope. The second sort of hope is one that we all fall into, and that's temporal hope, the hopes of this world. I hope to buy a new car by December. I don't actually, but it's the sort of thing that I have hoped in the past, and I'm sure many people have similar hopes. I hope to go on ziyarat. I hope to go on Hajj. These are temporal wishes. They're wishes for this world. So when we stand before the gate of judgment, should we still be saying, I wish I'd been on Hajj. I wish I'd died at the wheel of a BMW and not a Ford Fiesta. They're attachments to this world, and in them, in those hopes, we value the world and its objects more than we value the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This then The abandonment of false hope is a spiritual practice, and one that we can all indulge in. I know many people like to recite zikr. It gives me a dry tongue and I start to stumble on the words. It doesn't suit me. Other people like to pray all the nawafil and pray extra prayers. I find that too exhausting. Others will fast every week, a couple of days, and fast the 2 months before the month of Ramadan. Blessed acts, all of them. But what's something that every one of us can do is reflect upon our hopes. Are they valid, or are they harming us? There are valid hopes, of course. We can hope to see our friends succeed. We can even hope that our certainties are real certainties and not just things we've imagined. And we do this by returning time and time again to the message. But when we're faced just before judgment, do we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to say to us, you're now asking for mercy, but you doubted it. You're now asking for reward. What would you like? Would you like another car? Because that's what's still in your heart. Or do you want the divine proximity that paradise is? A divine proximity with the intention, the will and the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you want that? Then why are you still thinking about the last car you had and that you died before you could upgrade it? Why are you still thinking about a computer program that you'd almost finished writing? Why are you disappointed with that and not disappointed with yourself, standing in front of me, the master of the universe, still thinking about that and not about the business between us? Any one of us going into a job interview clears his mind, prepares his mind, what he's going to talk about, what he's going to concentrate on, what's important. And yet we approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this jumble of hopes, desires, lusts. And we say to him, well, just forgive me. No doubt he will. But you'll probably squirm for a while first, while you consider the state you've appeared before your Creator in. If he leans across, a bit like a very important employer, and says to you, do you really think you deserve this job? You don't seem to have prepared for it. In an interview, you can look down at the table and think of something. But facing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the all-knowing, there's nowhere to look away to. And this is something, I suggest, that we experience on the Hajj. That when we come to that point where we're going to do the ziyarat of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, didn't you who've been feel some misgivings? Am I really worthy? And think of those times when You could have followed Sunnah, but you couldn't be bothered. You wished or hoped to be doing something else. And when you face the Kaaba, at some point as you approach, not necessarily the gate of the Haram, because, of course, the Hajj starts with the gate, there's the doorway to your house. When you step out, you're rewarded. But you don't get the title of Al-Hajj until you've completed the rituals. So we're looking at two states here. The reward for attempting to perform the Hajj and a reward for completing it. And on that journey, there are many gateways that we face. And one of the gateways is to enter the physical presence of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, many of you are born Muslims and you've spent your whole lives waiting for that moment. Wasn't it terrifying? I'm not a born Muslim, and when I came to that point, I was shaking. I wanted to go home because I didn't want to face myself in front of that high, that pure a witness. And of course it's foolish because the AMI always witness what we do. We can't hide it. We can't hide it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when we're in the formal position of standing there without a proper defense, we rightly start shaking. And then, or before that, we've approached the Kaaba. Now we all know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have a fixed position to be. He doesn't need a house made of stone. This is somewhere for us to come to and confront ourselves with Him alone witnessing. We don't confess to priests. Many of us try never to confess to anything in our entire lives. But when we face the Kaaba, what choice do we have? None. We have to be honest and say, I'm not sure why I'm here. I'm not sure if I deserve to be here, except that you have invited me. And this throws a new perspective on it. Our reflection then is, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created everything, invite me to visit and give me the opportunity to purify my spirit, my consciousness, and my body? It's an amazing gift, but it's a gift at the price of confronting ourselves in an absolute naked honesty. And the symbol of this is the ihram. It reduces all of us by taking away our defenses. It takes away the expensive watch. It takes away the expensive perfume that covers our animal smells. It takes away the smart suit that makes waiters and servants open doors for us. None of that. Just the simple cloth for decency's sake. But who we're facing doesn't care whether we own a fancy suit, an expensive watch, or a big house. All he cares about is that you've agreed, accepted to approach and be honest with him. And it's that honesty that this poem of Dante talks about. Abandon every hope. Abandon what you believed was yours or would be yours in the world. Throw it away. All you are is a creature standing in front of his Creator in a terrified beauty that purifies more certainly than any flame. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal asri innal insana lafi khusri illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I hope you appreciate my mercy to you, that I didn't actually plunge you into the flames of hell, though you probably all deserve it. I'm going to go back to the Hajj, but to discuss something that's very precious and very lasting. And that is something that I'll come to in a minute. But first I'll ask you a question. How many of you have been on holidays and still keep in touch with the people you were on holiday with? A moment of reflection. How many people you were at school with do you still keep in touch with, or even recognise in the street? Another moment for reflection. Everyone you're on Hajj with, you recognise them instantly, run across rooms and embrace, even if it's been a decade since you were together. I find that the effect on the human memory fascinating, something outside, because I can't remember the names of a lot of people I was at school with or the people I was on holiday with, and if I walk past them in the street I might think they look familiar. But people that you share the Hajj with, and some of us share hundreds of people that we've shared Hajj with, every one of them, you know their face, you know their name, and you remember the context. This is a little miracle, a little reward, and it takes you back to something that is very precious in the Hajj. That while we're travelling as individuals, we're travelling with companions. Not just fellow travellers, but companions in intimate moments where we support each other and encourage. This is another of the lessons of the Hajj. That though we go to it as individuals with our hopes, we become increasingly throughout it part of the Ummah, part of a select band within the Ummah, those who perform the Hajj. And the same occurs upon ziyarat. We get to know people in a very different way, just as we get to know ourselves differently. So we become more able to share with other human beings. And isn't this by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Isn't this just one of his many gifts and mercies? That you could be the loneliest Muslim on this planet, but once you go on Hajj, you've got real friends. It's miraculous. Of course, sometimes we get annoyed with our companions, but the whole experience forces us to forgive. And forgiving ourselves and others is an important step in the spiritual process of approaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. When I forgive somebody who's done me a harm, I have to take the resentment out of my own heart. I have to throw the pain away and then say, don't worry, I forgive you. It's not just about the words saying to someone, I forgive you, just coming from the mouth. It's about the condition of the heart. And when the heart takes these things out, it becomes soft. Just like any sack or vessel, the more rubbish we pack into it, the firmer and the harder it gets. But when we start pulling those bits of junk out and saying, I don't need this. He said this to me 30 years ago. Why am I worrying about it? Gone. The heart is softening. And we do it with everything, even great hurts, that we work on forgiving so that we make ourselves more easily forgiven. And there is an hadith that the one who is most merciful is most worthy of mercy. And this is how it is done in practice. And again, these practices of self-reflection and self-cleansing are not just practices for the month of Ramadan or for the Hajj or for the month of Muharram. These are things that you can do as a daily practice, because every day, particularly living in a city, somebody will do something to annoy us. They'll step across us. They'll cut us up as we're driving. They'll push into a queue. Why should we weight ourselves down and harden our hearts because of their less than human behaviour, their impatience? Leave it with them. Don't take it into yourselves and contaminate yourself. Say, enough, go away, I forgive. It's difficult sometimes, particularly with the adrenaline of driving. But man is Homo sapiens, the reasoning man creature. And when we apply reason with divine learning, or learning from the divine, then we make ourselves truly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended for us, what He intended us to be. If you all succeed in this path, then I can sit down and stop sermonising, or those who will succeed me. And we would just have to hope for a better job. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. O Allah, bless Muhammad and his purified family and raise their status with you and in the world. on Fatima bint Muhammad wa Ali ibn Abu Talib wa Al-Hasan ibn Ali wa Al-Hussein ibn Ali wa Ali ibn Al-Hussein wa Muhammad ibn Ali wa Jafar ibn Muhammad wa Musa ibn Jafar wa Ali ibn Musa wa Muhammad ibn Ali wa Ali ibn Muhammad wa Hassan ibn Ali wa Muhammad al-Muntazar al-Mahdi alayhi salam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasten his return to administer our affairs and return justice to the world. And may Allah bring peace and justice to Muslims throughout the world who are suffering under the yoke of oppression, warfare and famine. And may their relief bring relief to all humanity in all times of stress, of terror and of darkness. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the light that leads the believers from the darkness. And we must pray that all believers are led from that darkness. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أشهد